to JP's Budget Collecting and our weekly look back at the hot comics from 6 months ago. This week we're looking back at the hot comics from February 11th, 2022, and I'm recording this on August 11th, 2022. I give you those dates so you know when this information is most relevant. You can ignore most of the slides because I got through almost all of them before I realized that I forgot to change the date. And a lot of them will say 2/4. And I didn't really have time to go back and fix that many. But this is from the 11th, despite what some of the slides say. As always, we're looking back at the CBSI Hot Top 10 and the Comic Tom Key Collector Hottest Trending Comics of the Week. This week we got 19 books to talk about between the two lists. A bunch of stuff related to rumors for Sony Spider movies. We got a little bit of comic buzz, and we got some Star Wars stuff. So really, other than that, a little bit of DC TV too as well. But not a ton of covers, which if you've been watching the new list this summer, they've almost all been covers. So we'll see how that goes. So first up, we do have one cover, though, and that is Red Sonja Valentine's Day Special from 2022. The Sozamakia 1 in 20 Virgin variant. Gorgeous Sozamaki cover. This one was going for $60 to $70 at release, which was slightly over triple, which made me predict probably going to be worth it, and not quite. It's dropped back to about 50. Still between double and triple ratio. 9.8 will cost you about 150. So this one's down and a little bit of an I'll be back, but still held really good value. Still some demand for this Sozamakia cover. So yeah, that was our only cover this week. But we do have a few comic buzz. First up, we had Land of the Living Gods, #1, the Ambassador variant. At release, this was going for, raw copies of this variant were going for 100 plus. Like the cover A was going for 10 to 15. The 1 in 15 was going for 35 plus. But this variant was going for huge money, and now it's a $15 to $20 book compared to 100 plus. So yeah, that's a dumpster fire. This series hasn't apparently amounted to anything, and yeah, that book has crashed in value, and it's not selling for near what it was back then. So, not a good one to have chased. Next, we have Truth, Red, White, and Black, #1, the first appearance of Isaiah Bradley. So this hit the list about a year ago. A little over a year ago when all the Falcon and Winter Soldier stuff was going on, and got hot again because they finally announced that they were releasing a collected edition, which they've never done for this particular series. So that caused raw copies of the #1 to jump back up to $20. 9.8 hit $230, which are still about half of what it was going for during the Falcon and Winter Soldier show, just to give you a little reference. Now it's a $10 to $40 book, raw side. 9.8, 125 to 200. So 9.8s have backed up. But the raw copies are really that $20, $30 range is really where they've mostly been. So we're going to call this steady overall because that's most of the sales. But a little bit of an I'll be back because you can definitely get deals and you can definitely do a little better on the 9.8. So this book has dropped back a little bit still. So book I feel like maybe deserves a little more love. But hey, the market says no, this is what it's worth. So next, we have Black Panther #3. For like one version of this for the third week in a row. We had this cover, then we had the 1 in 25, and now we're back to this. This is the first appearance of Tosin. You know, it kind of got hot again here just recently when people were specking that the little kid is Tosin in the trailer. I don't think that's the truth, but we'll see. But back then, by 3 or 4 weeks after release, this was up to a $55, $60 book for the A cover. Now it's a $40 to $70 book. 9.8 will cost you $165, $215. These prices are actually down a little bit from where it's been, but this book's been basically in this range, kind of steady, kind of worth it this whole time. Hasn't really dropped back a lot. We'll see what happens as we approach the movie, and if people get disappointed that he's not in it, or if he's in it, and this goes just absolutely crazy. So we will see. Next, we have Avengers #53, the first appearance of the Red Panther suit. This Joshua Shui, Miles Morales variant also was getting this book a little love. So there was a sort of a key first appearance of a suit plus a Miles cover. caused this to be $25 right out of the gate. Now it's a $5 to $15 book. 9.8, only one sale, and it only went for $50. So this one definitely turned into a trap. I asked the question back then, did suit upgrades usually matter? And the answer is no, and it has proved the case on this one as well. So those were our 4 kind of comic buzz books of the week. Next, we got 2 DC TV related stuff. First up, we have Booster Gold #1. First appearance of Booster Gold. Raw copies of this were hitting 75. 9.8 was up to 240. Based on casting for Legends of Tomorrow, the CW show was going to include Booster Gold. I think the show has now been canceled, but I don't know. One thing I talked about then is those shows don't usually carry a book for very long, and this one is the case. It's now a $20 to $60 book. 9.8 down to 9.8s are actually though up 300 to 400. Just not very many sales of those. I feel like the 9.8s were probably a little bit undervalued for Booster Gold anyway. But yeah, 20 to 60. So, and I'll be back because that is most of the sales, and definitely a little bit down on the raw side. Next, we have Hawk World #27, first appearance of White Dragon. This is, of course, right during when we were getting Peacemaker. White Dragon. This Peacemaker's dad was kind of a combination of a couple characters. One of the books we've seen a couple weeks ago, and this White Dragon. So he was kind of combining a couple different characters. Back then, raw copies of the White Dragon, first appearance of White Dragon, were up to 25 plus. Now it's a $1 to $10 book. So this one also turned into a bit of a dumpster fire because most of the sales are basically under $5 plus shipping. So that's where you get up to 10. But yeah. So yeah, this book is just not held because no interest at the moment in this character, and we're between seasons and this character's not coming back based on how the season 1 ended. So there you go. Next, we're going to have a couple of Disney Plus related books. First up is Secret Wars #2, or Secret Wars 2 #3, from 1986. First appearance of the Beyonder in human form. This is up to $15 for raw copies because supposedly the Beyonder is going to play a role in the Moon Girl cartoon that's coming. Now it's a $5 to $15 book. 9.8 on this are $150 to $175. So this is just been an I'll be back. Books that get a little bit of love, and that's what it gets. And but doubt it's going to really, the cartoon appearance is really going to bump it very much. Next, we have X-Men Adventures #1, the first X-Men animated series comic. Raw copies back then were 25, and 9.8 was up to 300. Based on news that we're getting 10 episodes in 2023. So this continues to be about getting that show coming back. Raw copies now are 10 to 25, 9.8's 2 to 300. So, and I'll be back down a little bit from where they were, but not crazy down, pretty much in the same kind of range, just on the lower end of it. So with that, we're going to move into a bunch of books related to Sony Spider-Man universe movies that don't actually include Spider-Man, but include all his other characters that they're doing. This was obviously pre-Morbius when these books were hitting and all these announcements. I'll be curious to see how much of these we actually get, as Sony has not shown an ability to make good movies. I'm sorry, I don't think either of the Venom movies were all that great, and I definitely know Morbius was terrible. So anyway, back then, Spectacular Spider-Man #244, the first appearance of Alisal Kravinoff, the son of Kraven, also Alexei. Let's see, so he's got kind of 2 names. This hit the list. Raw copies were going for $20 to $35 based on the casting of Russell Crowe. People were wondering if Russell Crowe would actually be the original Kraven, and Aaron Taylor Johnson might be his son, and like there was a bunch of stuff going back and forth on this, caused this book to hit the list. Now it's a $5 to $15 book, 9.8, 133, but that's one sale. Definitely turned into a trap. I think the general consensus now is no, Aaron Taylor Johnson is going to be Kraven, and Russell Crowe might still be his dad, but he would be Kraven's dad, not the other way around. So so this one definitely turned into a trap, but there was some speculation back then with the Russell Crowe news. Next, we have Amazing Spider-Man #15, a first appearance of Kraven. Obviously, this also had to do with that news and just rumors about the Kraven the Hunter movie. Back then, a 4.0 hit 2,000, a 5.5 hit 3,000. Now 4.0 is 1,000 to 1,200, 5.5 or 1,600 to 2,000. So just goes to show you, even really big books, even the market this year in general is down from last year. And also books can just have lulls. Like even books that are really big and important, when we get news about a character potentially being in a movie, can spike them higher than they're currently sustainable. Eventually these books are going to get back, but for this 6-month period, this was a bit of a trap. It definitely backed up considerably on both of these grades, and really across all grades a little bit. But long term, you'll be okay. So, like, this one of those, you just be patient and it'll gain it back. So, if you bought it even then. But so far, hasn't really paid off, that you've been better off avoiding news, which is generally the case. Next, we have Amazing Spider-Man number 565, which is the first appearance of Anna Kravinoff. And this, no news about this character, just people speculating, well, maybe we might get his daughter, might be something that appears. Raw copies back then were $35.40. Now it's a $10 to $25 book, 9.8, 125 to 300. We don't really have any news about this character appearing, so this one has also become a trap as we've moved away from that news. And given the way Morbius kind of underperformed, my guess is people are probably less optimistic about Kraven than they were also. So that's probably also played into these kind of becoming a trap and backing up. Next, we got more Sony Spiders, but this time it has to do with Madam Web news. This was that we got the casting of Dakota Johnson for the Madam Web movie as Madam Web. So a bunch of people were then speculating that maybe we were going to get the Julia Carpenter version of Madam Web, which is the current version in the comics. She became the second Madam Web. So we got Amazing Spider-Man 637 hitting the list. This is the cover A up first, and raw copies of it were going for $60, 9.8 was going for $220. Now it's a $10 to $50 book, with most of the sales kind of 40-ish. 9.8, 150 to $250. So also it's backed up a little bit. So, and I'll be back on this one. Don't know if we're going to get what form this is going to take. I think there's rumors this has now been delayed. So, which is nothing new for Sony Spider movie, but yeah, so we will see. But next we have Amazing Spider-Man 637, the Files variant. So this is the B cover, and of the same book of her appearing as Madam Web. Raw copies were going for 75 to 100 back then. 9.8 was up to 225, so just a little higher than the A cover. Now it's a $10 to $40 book, so actually a little lower. 9.8, 190, just one sale. And this one's backed up a little more because it went higher back then. So this one actually became a bit of a trap. We will see. My guess is we probably get the Julia Carpenter version if we're getting the Dakota Johnson, but if we ever even get this, so we will see. Next, we have Amazing Spider-Man 210, the first appearance of Madam Web. So the original, and obviously this also hit the list just based on this news, because nobody knows for sure which version she's going to play. Plus, this is truly an introduction of Madam Web. Raw copies back then were 165, 9.6, 650 to 750, 9.8 hitting 1500. Now it's a 50 to 150 book raw, 4 to 500 on the 9.6. So both of those are definitely I'll be backs. 9.8 is actually 12 to 2000, but there's like 3 sales in there, with 2 of them under that 1500 and just the one higher. So not a ton of 9.8 sales going on there. So overall, this is down and I'll be back. Great book. We'll see what version we ultimately get if we even get this movie from Sony. All right, so with that, we still have 4 more books. I said we had 19 this week, and they're all Star Wars related. First up is Star Wars Darth Vader number 20, the Spruce variant. This is the first appearance of Grogu on a cover of a comic. I think technically The Mandalorian had already been on a cover at this point. I'm a little confused by this. But anyway, there's been magazines and other stuff, so I know there's been. But this is definitely the first Grogu on a cover of a comic, even though neither one of them are inside. But that's the nature of these Spruce variants. Raw copies of this back then were going for $15. Still a $5 to $20 book, with most of the sales sitting about $10 to $15. 9.8 on this will cost you $60 to $100. So I thought this would be worth it. it's now I'll be back. Definitely still down from like the initial hype beforehand. We talked about back then the pre-order was 30. So this was definitely becoming I'll be back. Still some interest in this book, but now we've gotten a Mandalorian series, so we've gotten both of their proper first appearances in the comics. But yeah, this cover still demanding a little bit of value. Next, we have Star Wars: The High Republic #1. And this High Republic Adventures #1. And this was a series, High Republic series, focused on some younger Jedi, some Padawans, Lulu, and Zine, and several others. And this basically hit the list because there was rumors that the Disney Plus show was going to be targeted at a younger audience, maybe a cartoon. And then we heard that the descriptions of the characters appear like maybe they were going to be new characters and not these characters, even though it was still going to be in the High Republic era. So I'm not sure exactly what we're getting there, but this one back then jumped up to an $8 book. Now it's a $60 book for a 9.8, and a $60 book for a 9.8, excuse me. Now it's a $5 to $15 book, $40 to $60 for a 9.8. So it's still sitting right in that same range. You could definitely call it an I'll be back, but pretty steady overall in this range for kind of values. So we will see. I will be surprised if we don't get some of these characters and some proper High Republic stuff. I'm a big fan of the High Republic stuff. That's well known, but I think eventually Disney's put a lot into this publishing effort. My guess is that they will eventually turn it into some sort of cartoon or live action at some point. Next, we have Star Wars Kanan the Last Padawan #12. The first appearance of the Grand Inquisitor, or his cameo, depending on how you want to go with it. But anyway, this was based on rumors that the Grand Inquisitor was going to be included in the Obi-Wan show, which we found out to be the truth. Wasn't a major role, but definitely was in it. Raw comics back then jumped up to $50 to $60. Now they're down to $10 to $30. 9.8s are going for $1 to $200. So this definitely turned into a trap already. And really, even if you go back and look at during the Obi-Wan show, it wasn't going for as high as it was when the rumors and stuff came out. So the book had already was lower even during the show, and is even lower now, and it's turned into a trap. And the same thing can be said about our last book, which is Darth Vader #6, the first appearance of the Grand Inquisitor. So if the other one's the cameo, this is the first full. Raw copies back then were going for $80 to $100. 9.8 going for $600, and now it's a $30 to $50 book on the Raw side, $150 to $175. So this is basically a dumpster fire on the 9.8 side on this one. This book has crashed way back down, and again, same pattern. It was already lower even during the show, and it went even lower still. Both of these books ended up being traps. So that is our list for this week. Once again, no books went up. We did have 4 steady out of the 19, but 15 of the 19 went down, as you're going to see on the recap slide here in a second. But yeah, continues our pattern. 22 has been down year for comics, holding value, hot list or otherwise, after the craziness of 21. So I want to thank you guys for watching, and we will catch you next time.